I would do anything in my power to keep my brother on the throne.
Is it that serious? Your place may well be on the throne.
I'm not an alternative to my brother.
You can outshine David.
Don't take liberties! That's bordering on treason.
This is a story where, you know, the private constitutional crisis of stammering is turned into a public one because this, you know, this private individual is forced to become King of England against his will right at the moment when radio is taken off as a mass medium, in that window when it's only a live medium. And as the Second World War was approaching, with all the pressure on him to not only be king, but to be a king at war or a leader at war. It's interesting here that royalty is the mechanism by which the dilemma of the hero is intensified to this extraordinary degree.
What was your earliest memory?
I'm not here to discuss personal matters.
Why are you here then?
Because I bloody well stammer!
Do you know any jokes?
Timing isn't my strong suit.
We see a man suffering tremendously, and the more we find out about his life and his childhood, you realise that there probably isn't a soul on earth that would change places with him. So, you know, it doesn't weigh in on. I don't think it doesn't weigh in politically on the propriety, otherwise, of having an institution like this in a modern democracy. I think it's a very specific story of a man who's trapped in that world. I wondered, in a way, if there was anything that could be drawn from the public aspect of my professional life, but I don't think they overlap. You know, I'm not born into what I do. I'm not held to it in the same way. There's a lot more freedom on my part, and also people don't treat me with really that much respect.
A beloved common man may marry for love. Why not me?
If you were a common man, on what basis could you possibly claim to be king?
Sounds like you've studied our wretched constitution.
Sounds like you haven't.
That's what this is about. Brushing up. Hence the elocution lessons. That's the scoop around town.
I'm trying to...
Yearning for a larger audience, are we, Bertie?
Certainly the 1930s, unlike now, was a time where the English monarchy could reasonably fear that they were not going to survive, and the abdication crisis was probably the closest it came to endangering itself. And I wonder whether the clue to its survival and endurance, you know, is partly the understanding correctly King George VI's story, because if your king is a severe stammerer, it changes your relationship to the monarch, because it humanises the monarchy. I mean, I've read accounts of people listening to the king during the Second World War, and everyone knew that he had a stammer, and so there was tremendous drama in listening to his speaking, that you're hoping he wouldn't stammer. But also, if you've got a man reaching out to you in your suffering during the war, who is suffering simply to speak to you, you know, the authenticity of him saying, "I understand your suffering," is heightened. He's not in a ivory tower, disconnected. He's even by electing to talk, he's battling with an affliction.
War with Germany will come, and we will need a king whom we can all stand behind, united.
I fear my brother is not of sound mind at this time.
Both quotes and letters from George V and Queen Mary refer to this sort of thing. You know, Queen Mary, after the abdication, admonishes David for having thrown away a crown which people had given their lives for not 20 years before, you know, and you know, this sense of duty, and was very much valued, I think, in the family. And George V actually did praise his son Bertie for having a much more humble sense of duty, and I think that was an ethos that he established when he became king, and I think it's one that he's probably passed down to the next generation as well.